Hi.
Yeah, we just came back from Taiwan. Teacher Kesemaga have a big level 7 there, DCI.
Yay.
They have the public talk, break the record of 5,500 people.
Wow.
Yeah, huge stadium.
Wow.
Yeah, I think previously is only 3,000 in Vietnam, but this time is according to the organizer announcement is 5,500.
Wow.
Then the DCI online also fully booked. No, they only can accommodate around 400 people. It's fully booked. Some people want to join, so they cannot. So they must go to online, which start with this Friday night online. Yes.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Yay. Look at the goodness we're making.
Yeah, I think it's really good because you can see many people, many new people. I'm very surprised, and when they ask, actually many people is first time attend DCI also. They straight away go to level 7, touch the diamond world.
There are special people out there.
Yeah.
Wow. You guys are all amongst them.
Good afternoon.
Roxana.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, 6 o'clock my time. Okay, for the recording. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me again. We are studying the Lamrim practice module called The Source of All My Good. We are on class 4. My plan for this evening is that we'll do our usual opening prayers, followed by the text. I'll read the poem, followed by our meditation preliminaries, followed by a guided visualization. And then class will be talking about what went on in that visualization and how we got there. So let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them up here there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you. Smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiating from them. That beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Think about how much you would like to be able to help them. Think of how wonderful it would be if we could also help them in some way through which they would go on to never have that distress again. Buddha says it's possible. I invite you to grow that wish, to be able to learn to do so. To grow that wish into a longing. And maybe even to grow that longing into an intention. Then turn your mind back to that precious holy guide. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn, what we need to do to become one who can help that other in that deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the pure world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands. And we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total enlightenment for the sake of every other. Now open yourself up to receive our prayer. Translators, you're welcome to go ahead and say it. You don't have to wait for me. Okay. Ready? The source of all my good. Jatsung Kappa 1357 to 1419. The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to you in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow you with all my strength and reverence. Bless me first to realize that the excellent life of leisure I have found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. Grant me then to wish, and never stop to wish, that I could take its essence night and day. My body and the life in it are as fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things I have done, the white or black, and what these deeds will bring to me, follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Grant me then ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrong of many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of Buddha's teachings. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, every one my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice this highest wish for enlightenment, to take upon myself the task of freeing them all. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough. For if I am not well trained in the three moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the vows for children of the victors. Grant that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight join together, one which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects, The other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way. Grant that once I have practiced well the paths shared and become a vessel that is worthy, I enter with perfect ease the way of the diamond, highest of all ways, holiest door to come inside for the fortunate and good. Bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I have entered thus, the cause that gives me both the attainments is keeping my pledges and vows most pure. Grant that I may always keep them, even at the cost of my life. Bless me to realize the crucial points of both the stages, the essence of the secret ways. Grant me then to practice as the Holy One has spoken, putting all my efforts in and never leaving off the practice of the 4 times highest that there is. Bless me, grant me that the spiritual guide who shows me this good road and all my true companions in this quest live long and fruitful lives. Bless and grant me that the rain of obstacles, the things within me and outside me that could stop me now, stop and end forever. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect lamas. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path, and reach then quickly the place where I become myself, the one who holds the diamond. Right. So settle your body into a comfortable position that you can stay still. Still and awake. Quickly scan down that body, inviting those tight places to relax. Then bring your attention to your breath. That sensation in your nostrils, as if it's the most fascinating thing. Out and in. Until you hear from me again. Adjust your alertness. As you focus. Now intentionally shift your object of attention to that precious holy guide. see and feel their love, their compassion, their wisdom. Their goodness. All the effort they must have done to see themselves as a totally enlightened being. And there they are with you. Feel your admiration for them. You really can grow those same qualities. They are eager to help you do so. So feel your admiration and make a mental prostration to them. Tell them what you admire about them and how we would like to be able to gain those good qualities. And think of something that you've already learned from them. And feel a sense of gratitude. Make them an offering. And include in your offering telling them some way in which you followed what they taught you. No matter how puny it might seem to you, they are so happy to see you hearing yourself tell them of some success in your behavior modification program. And you feel so safe with them that you are able to confess to them some negative seeds you know you have from some behavior that you have done, that when that result comes back to you, it will be unpleasant and you don't want it. Think of the situation and explain just the facts. Not the rationalizations, just what you did. And explain to your precious being whatever you understand about mental seeds coming back to you, to feel that sense of regret, honest, educated regret. Tell them you want to do some antidote, something to make up for it. And maybe they say, yes, do this meditation in this class. And then make a power of restraint. Think of the next time you'll be in a similar situation. And make a plan for a different response. And make a determination to yourself before your precious guide for doing that different behavior. And know that when your antidote is completed and your power of restraint is completed, those negative seeds are damaged enough that they will not haunt you. Next, fill your heart with rejoicing. Tell that precious being of another thing you're proud of. Pretend you're the kindergartner coming home from school, showing mom that beautiful piece of artwork you made out of clay. Do you remember that feeling? Tell that holy being another one. Tell them of a goodness you saw someone else do. And then ask them to please stay close to you. Ask them to help those people in your life that help support you and uplift you also stay close. Ask them to continue to guide you and teach you and support you and maybe even challenge you when you're ready. Finally, ask them to help you learn this meditation, the Lam Rim Mandala, And dedicate the goodness that we've just done so far. That person that you want to be able to help will somehow come to recognize the power of their behavior in creating their future less. And get a sense that you've set that in motion. Then bring your attention back to your breath. Let your concentration a little loose. And if your body needs to shift and wiggle, do so now. Then settle back in. Listen and allow the movie scene to come together as you hear me describe it. We'll fill in details later. So find yourself standing before a beautiful blue door with your hand on its doorknob. This is the door to the Bodhisattva room. In this building, the rooms of which are linking you to your courtyard of your own totally enlightened being. Your hand is on the doorknob because in your heart, you are wishing that you could become one who could help others learn to stop their suffering forever. You are no longer satisfied with helping in only worldly ways. You are longing to be able to influence others in this amazingly positive way that empowers them. So open the door and look inside. You are inside a hexagonal shaped room at one of the points. And immediately across at the other point, there's a red door, the exit door. And you see in the middle of the room a big incense burner. Those beautiful round pots with sand inside. And it has many sticks of incense, various stages of burning down. And the blue swirls of incense, okay, are dancing up, filling the room with their fragrance. with a feeling of holiness. Notice that this gentle pink haze fills the room, comfortably fills the room. Inhale that fragrance, that smoke, knowing it represents your growing bodhicitta, your growing wish to help beings in that deep and ultimate way, and your growing wish to experience ultimate reality so that you can do the other. This incense fragrance represents our minds becoming imbued with bodhicitta. Our wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Let your eagerness grow and take one step inside that room, turning to your left. And this first diagonal wall, it represents the perfection of giving. And on the shelf there, see 4 pretty gift boxes with their lids open. Each one of these gift boxes holds inside it a different kind of gift that you will offer to others. The perfection of giving. It has 4 parts. Giving material things. So the first box, when you look inside it, see something in there that represents giving others material things. The material things they need or want. Whatever pops to your mind first, see it inside that box. And think of how that other will feel when you get a chance to offer it to them. Then look into the second box. It represents giving protection. Protection from fear, giving safety, giving a kind of emotional comfort more than physical. So what's inside that box for you that represents giving protection? And imagine giving it to someone in need and how that brings them a sense of safety and security. The third box is the perfection of giving love. Love means I want you to be happy. Inside that box is something that represents your giving another this experience of them knowing you want their happiness. You love them. And think of how lovely they'll feel when you do an act of giving love, which may just be a smile to someone who's having a hard day. The fourth box is giving the gift of the Dharma. It doesn't only mean the physical books, giving a diamond cutter wisdom book, but it means giving guidance, giving help, giving clues, teaching the pen thing. Sharing the Dharma, the wisdom, the guidance. The perfection of giving is the willingness to give those things anytime we are in a situation to do so. It could be a whole lifetime's practice. Then turn from that wall, past the entry door to the diagonal wall that would be to your right as you stepped into the room. This wall represents the perfection of moral discipline, perfection of ethical way of life. See on the shelf on this room, this door, this wall, a beautiful bonsai tree, an old one. Its pot and soil and roots represent our refuge advices, following our refuge advices, keeping our individual freedom vows, the level of avoiding harming others on more and more subtle ways. It's the foundation, it's the roots and the source of the higher level morality trainings. The trunk of this beautiful tree represents our bodhisattva vows, the guidelines of behavior that help us train in the 6 perfections. It is a level of morality that also refuses to harm, but in addition, finds ways to be helpful and kind. So the morality of doing goodness is the trunk. The branches, leaves, flowers, and there's even a little unripe fruit, all represent the doing both of those other levels of moral discipline, imbued with our wish for enlightenment, meaning imbued with wanting to reach the ability to help all others stop their suffering forever. That higher morality shows up as the leaves and flowers and fruit. So this bonsai tree of the perfection of moral discipline needs to be tended carefully. Then from standing, gazing at this tree, look and step to your left. This next wall represents the perfection of not getting angry when the situation would warrant it. They call it the perfection of patience. Geshe-la describes this scene, that there's a small, beautiful garden pond, very, very still, quiet, peaceful place. And there's a log, a downed tree by the edge of that pond, a perfect place to sit down and enjoy the peacefulness of this pond. And this scene is to remind us of the perfection of not getting angry. One level, Master Shantideva will teach us, when you're feeling upset, be like a bump on a log. Meaning, don't react. Don't act at all. So you're upset, sit down on that log and wait until your mind and heart has reached that state of being the still, peaceful pool before you respond. The perfection of patience. Because then when we respond, we will respond with kindness born of wisdom. Perfection of patience. Now, turn around 180 degrees. Walk past the incense burner to the wall that's parallel to this one. This wall is the perfection of joyous effort. Joyous effort, having a good time, practicing your other perfections. No matter if it's a difficult situation or an easy situation or a fun situation or a not fun situation, you are having fun anyway. Because of growing wisdom, we are aware of the opportunities that we have in both pleasant and unpleasant situations. And we are eager to engage them. So in this location, see something that represents having fun doing kindness. I like to think of children playing school. And one child's the teacher, and one's the assistant, and one's the principal, and some are the kids. And they're having so much fun. being taught by their friend. Hear the giggles. Enjoy them playing. And think of yourself, I don't know, serving food at a homeless kitchen, having that same kind of fun. Those first 4 perfections, practices, are helping us grow our goodness that will allow us to meditate more deeply, that will allow us to understand emptiness more accurately, that will allow us to apply ourselves to our first 4 perfections with greater wisdom, which increases our meditation, which increases our wisdom. So move from joyous effort to the next wall, the diagonal one. It has the microscope. Its tag says, use me 1 hour a day. And we remember it's about learning to focus and adjust, and focus and adjust, and focus and adjust. And we recall, but this is just training the tool. It is not the goal. And so pick up the microscope and go to the last wall, the diagonal wall, past the red door. On that shelf is that diamond representing emptiness. Put the diamond on the platform of the microscope. Peer into the microscope, put it at 10x. Adjust your focus. 100x, adjust your focus. 1000x, adjust your focus. Representing going deeper and deeper into the emptiness of your meditation object. Then your precious holy guide, who's been there with you all along, taps you on the shoulder and says, good, you're ready. It's time. And they open the red door to the initiation room, that round crystal room shining in light, with the altar and a mandala, and Lama now dressed in jewels and robes. And there are 4 different stations in this room. They take you to each one. You receive something in each station. And in the end, they hand you your book of vows, your diamond and your bell, a mala, and a practice text. And you feel different than you've ever felt before. And you walk into the hallway of the vows, keeping my vows most pure. Something in that hallway is reciting the vows, saying them out loud or reading them. You can read them. In that room is something that indicates your personal system for tracking your behavior. Something in that room that reminds you how you've been doing this for a long time. And be happy with yourself. And when those vows are clean and strong, we step into the creation stage room. At the entry, there are other people in that room looking ordinary, behaving ordinarily. You are using your practice text. You are keeping your vows. And as you move through this room, others in that room are starting to look and behave more suspiciously divine. Until you get to the other side of that room and everybody around you looks like angels. They're all standing by to guide you and help you. Each one an object of your practice. And the door to the next room swings open. It's the hallway of the 4 times. Circumstances are such that you can now do your 4 Leirung retreats to prepare your body and mind for the highest way. Something in this room represents those 4 retreats with the 4 times sessions, all designed for us to make the merit that when it ripens as successful completion stage practice. So you move through your 4 stations. And reach that beautiful door to the completion stage. You open it, and there at the front of the room is all that twisted, awful plumbing. You're kind of shocked. But you know you're ready to do the work. Your completion stage teacher is there with you. There are instructions there. A practice mat, a meditation cushion, everything you need. And as you follow their guidelines and do the exercises, the meditations, you see the plumbing is straightening out, getting clean, becoming parallel, even merging into one tube. And as you follow it along, your practice is becoming more and more subtle, more and more exquisite. Finally, those double doors swing open. One more step, and you find yourself in the courtyard, actually in the center of the courtyard. One being manifesting ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And in the next instant, you are aware of your emanating to and for every existing being to help them take up what they need to take up, to give up what they need to give up. Devoted to them, each one, until they reach that same state. You have started the career that you've been training for eons. Congratulations. So leave that you there. And I don't know how, but bring some part of you back here now. Become aware of your body in your room, aware of your breath. When you're ready, open your eyes, take a stretch, but don't believe what you see. Good job, you did more than a half hour with hardly a wiggle. Well done. So take a break, get refreshed, and we'll learn what we just learned. Are we back already? I like that. Fast break takers. So let's talk a little bit more about the 6 perfections. Now, there's so much to say about them. And, this is advertisement for the ACI courses. So, right, they're in there. But it's so helpful, I find, if we can connect the dot. Why is there a whole room called the Bodhisattva room? So we spoke a little bit last class about those 6 perfections. The perfection of giving, the perfection of moral discipline, meaning not harming others, the perfection of not getting angry, because getting angry usually leads to harming others. Being harmed is what leads to getting angry. Then joyous effort, having fun, doing those other 3. And then the perfection of meditative concentration and the perfection of wisdom, which means having the direct perception of emptiness experience. Learning our intellectual understanding of emptiness is the perfectionizer of wisdom, but it's not enough. Now, I think I talked about how the first 4 perfections, giving, moral discipline, not getting angry, joyous effort, is about planting the seeds that will ripen into the form body of our fully enlightened being. Paradise body and emanation bodies are made by what goes on in growing these first 4 perfectionizer behaviors into the actual being done with wisdom. Then meditative concentration and the perfection of wisdom, those create the seeds for the mental being of your Buddha, meaning your omniscience and your emptiness of all the bodies. So omniscience, think of omniscience as being perceiving, appearing reality, and the emptiness of all the aspects of that appearing reality simultaneously, which our 2-sided brain cannot fathom. So the last 2 perfections create our mind, our enlightened mind, and the deeds of the first 4 create our appearing nature. It takes both. You don't make one without the other. In the same way that each of the 6 perfections actually depends on the others. And it seems like we practice them linearly, one after the other. But in fact, as we study them, we'll see that, no, we're working on all of them at the same time. We're just focusing it in one way, our behavior in one way versus another. In giving, the 4 kinds of giving, we start our practice with giving material things. Mostly because that's the arena we are already used to doing our giving in, but also because a person who's struggling to get their needs met, their physical needs met, they do not have the mental, emotional space to be the least bit interested or capable of being told look, your behavior creates your reality. Change your behavior, you can change your reality. They are too hungry. So in that same way, for us, in some future possible lifetime, if we want to stay on the path, we need to ensure that we create lifetimes in which we have our needs met. So we are not amongst the ones that are struggling for survival. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say none of us are struggling for survival in that way. So the perfection of giving material goods is, first of all, to give people who are struggling a little bit of relief and make a connection with them so that when they're not struggling, you'll be able to help them in this deeper way. It also helps us ensure that we can stay on the path. That's not why we're doing it, but it's a side benefit that when we recognize that component as really the source of our own comfort has always been giving others comfort. All of a sudden, giving comfort becomes a higher priority than my own comfort. Then the next level is safety. We can all have our needs met, and then suddenly our world is not safe. Funny, that's happening in places, isn't it? Not funny at all, it's horrible. So giving safety means safe places, safe from harm, safe from weather, safe from insults, safe from criticism, safe. Even down to the subtlety of, do you just walk by a flock of birds, you know, and they go, what? Or do you recognize, whoa, I can give them a sense of protection and cross the street before I pass them by? Do we bother? What about the ants? No? Do we step high enough over them that we hope they won't even be aware we're there? All these little ways that our being a safe space for others is the arena through which we create a world of safety for everyone. We're going to see that pick up again in the moral discipline. Then the third kind of giving is giving love. You know what it feels like when someone does something for you, like you haven't asked or implied or anything, and they give you something that, like, they must have read your mind, your heart, or something to know how special that was that they gave you. And you just feel like, wow, they really know me. They really wanted to please me in that way. It feels good. We feel special. And so this perfection of giving love is this perfection of giving that sense of, wow, she sees me as special. Whether we know them or not, whether we like them or not, right? It's easy to do that for the people we love. And we do, right? And we do that more and more subtly with our practice. But the practice extends to those we don't already love. Then finally, giving the Dharma, meaning sharing the wisdom of our behavior creates the imprints in our mind that ripens as our reality, which means that we have the capacity to create our future. only when the time is right, only when they're ready and they've asked. Meanwhile, we give the Dharma by way of our behavior. We show by example what it is to be kind in the face of a situation where everybody expects you to react in a standard human way and you don't. That's giving the Dharma. Eventually, they're going to ask you, how can you keep your mouth shut when that stupid boss is saying again and again and again those stupid things? Yeah, you want to know? If you've got about 20 years, I'll teach you. No, seriously, right? You explain. Share the Dharma. The willingness to do so is the perfection. We won't ever be able to give enough material things to enough beings for there never to be poverty. It's the state of mind of willingness to give, which requires a high level of understanding emptiness. So the same kind of ideas hold for the perfection of moral discipline, avoiding harming, finding ways to be more and more kind, and training our minds to do both of those, imbued with the wish for all beings to reach their ultimate happiness. The deeds we do aren't any different. The state of mind with which we do those deeds is completely different. And so the outcome from our behaviors towards others is completely different. Moral discipline, it has lots of different levels. Let's go on. The perfection of patience. As I said, not getting angry. But this happens in stages also, because you can't just decide, okay, I'm a bodhisattva now, I'm not going to get angry. Like the instant we make that declaration, what happens? Somebody says something and boom, off I go. So the perfection of not getting angry is learning this mindfulness that allows me to recognize I'm getting upset. My natural reaction is to criticize back. I'm going to be like a bump on a log until it passes, or until I can regroup enough to say something positive, not criticize. I'm sorry you're upset. How can I help? Something. The feeling of being angry has not gone away. I am still pissed off. But I refused to act from it. And that burned off a whole set of getting angry seeds, and I did not replant them. Next time around, right? The anger will still come up. I'll be a little bit quicker at recognizing it, bump on a log, come up with something kind, dedicate it. Keep that up. How long? As long as it takes. And what happens is, similar situation, now it's just mildly irritated. Easier to respond with kindness. Then you'll surprise yourself. You'll be in a situation where you expect to be irritated. It never shows up. your response is even different than what you had planned, because your perception of the situation is so different. Even though there's a part of you that goes, a month ago, that would have just pissed me off. And now it's like, okay, deal, and that's how this builds on itself. That ability to have that kind of mindfulness and non-reactivity grows out of our growing mindfulness about our practice of giving, moral discipline, not getting angry, having a good time doing that stuff. And then working with those ideas in meditation to see the emptiness of the situation. The criticizing person can only criticize me if I criticize others. And gosh, that's what I do back. No wonder. So these 6 perfections work together, not really in a cycle, but in a whole. Okay? Each one is inside each of the others. All of those activities, in order for them to be the activities of a bodhisattva, need the mind imbued with the wish, because that's what makes the activities of giving the seeds for our Buddhahood, instead of seeds for a nice future life, which is not a bad thing, but that's not our goal at this level of the Lamrim. All right? So our Bodhisattva room is infused with that incense fragrance that represent, I want to reach my total Buddhahood so that I can help every being reach theirs, so that they can help every being reach theirs, so that they can help every being reach theirs. And you can never stop saying that. Bodhicitta. That state of mind is what makes us bodhisattva. Right, so let me show you my share screen for a vocabulary word. Yay. Here it is. The Tibetan for bodhisattva is Changchub Sempa. Changchub means Buddha. Sempa means wannabe-er. Buddha wannabe-er. They say warrior. In Sanskrit, bodhisattva, because sattva does mean warrior. Bodhi means Buddha. So it sounds like you're already a Buddha and now you are a warrior, but it doesn't mean that. It means I'm a warrior against my own ignorance and mental afflictions so that I can become a Bodhi. A Buddha, I can reach Buddhahood. Changchub Sempa, I like that. A Buddha wannabe-er. All right, I'm going to get rid of this. Stop share. We'll come back to it. So how did we get to the Bodhisattva room? Right? You don't know yet. We were standing outside with our hand on the doorknob, waiting to go inside. Now we understand what's inside. And so on the outside of this door, where we are with our hand in the handle, let's add a piece to your mental picture where there's a poster that has the Bodhisattva vows listed on it, 64 guidelines for behavior that teach us how to be a Changchub Sempa. And then a photo of someone who's suffering in a big way. It can be someone you know, it can be a group of beings, you know, something from this world that makes your heart go, this is unacceptable suffering. I have to do something about it. Even when we feel completely incapable of doing anything about it. Right? Nobody wants to look at that picture that makes us feel that way. Put it on your bodhisattva door and make the connection between learning to live according to these guidelines of behavior is the key to stopping that kind of suffering forever. Right? So that our motivation as we step into that hexagonal room is for those people in that picture. All right. So how did we get there? So concerned about people we maybe don't even know. So concerned for their suffering that we are willing to change our behavior moment by moment. It comes in 2 verses, well, more than 2, but that like the immediate verses go like this. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, every one my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice the highest wish for enlightenment, to take upon myself the task of freeing them all. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough. For if I am not well trained in the 3 moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the vows for children of the victors. So the vows for children of the victors is code word for our bodhisattva vows. And traditionally, we get to learn about the bodhisattva vows, what they are, how to keep them, how we break them, how we fix them, before we decide to commit ourselves to them. And in fact, the system even gives us the opportunity to establish our bodhisattva wish as a wish to be able to take the vows someday, so that we can like take a vow to get the wish strong. And then we can live according to the vows without the risk of damaging them, because we don't actually have them yet, but we get to practice them. And that practice grows our wish stronger until we feel ready to take our wish into action. And that's when we take the actual bodhisattva vows. The ceremony is the same for the wish and the action. So that verse says, bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough. We can say, oh, I want to be Buddha for the sake of everyone. But if we don't change our behavior, we're not going to become Buddha for a really, 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 really long time. So Lama Tsongkhapa is saying, yes, it's great to have the wish. Even a tiny flittering wish is a fabulous goodness. And then to have the wish grow strong enough to be coloring our mind, that's even better. But until we activate that wish through our behavior, the wish itself will lose it. We'll lose it. So activating the wish by way of taking vows is a way of making that vowed behavior be stronger. It's not that you do a bodhisattva deed and you don't have a vow that it doesn't count. It does count. Why are we taking the wish from just wishing to action? Because we recognize that we've reached some level of deciding my own suffering is just too much. Right? It's unacceptable. And we've recognized that, well, what a puny me for saying my suffering's unacceptable. Most of the world is suffering way more than I am. What about them? Old world view would say they're their own problem. As we understand karma and emptiness better and better, it's like, oh, yes, their behavior creates their world. And it seems to me like they're wildly mistaken in where happiness comes from. And I have enough goodness to have a glimpse of what might help them. At some point, it's like, I can't bear to keep the secret to myself. At least I want to demonstrate it through my behavior. And hopefully it'll rub off or influence or something. One of the ways that this tradition increases our motivation towards others is it spends quite a long time showing us how it is true that every being is our mother from before. And that's a hard one to work with when we're fresh out the chute of learning karma and emptiness. But I just want to say that's why they specifically mention our mothers. Traditionally, mothers were important beings. In my world in the West, it seems like my society is losing that sense of, they call it in Asia filial piety, right? This devotion to mom. And so there's a whole reasoning for why moms are so important, right? And then that we owe them. It's to grow this sense of personal responsibility for helping all beings. So it's just mentioned here. Jetsun Kappa doesn't miss an instant for taking us deeper. So these two verses are the verses about what triggers in us the desire and willingness to guide our behavior by way of our bodhisattva vows. As I said, before you take bodhisattva vows, you learn the bodhisattva vows. And so I'll just put a plug that Lama Sumati, my husband David, he's starting teaching ACI 7 tomorrow at 10 in the morning. If anybody is so inclined to jump, you can take your course 7, learn your bodhisattva vows. So that then when you're ready, you have the certificate that lets you take your vow. Okay, advertisement finished. How did we get here about the I've slipped and fallen? It's hard to unravel this backwards from this point, because we kind of have to jump to the front and come back. So I'll do my best. It would only make sense that I am personally responsible for every being's happiness if I understand really clearly about the process of profound dependence, which means this process of what I see myself think, do, say towards other makes the imprint in my consciousness that will color my future experience, towards which I act again, which makes more imprints, which will make a future experience. But that process doesn't happen immediate, moment to moment. The seeds planted ripen later, right? So what I do now plants, but what ripens is from before. There's this time gap that, because of that time gap, we cannot, in fact, experience directly how my behavior now creates my experience. Because my behavior now does not, in fact, create my immediate next experience the way we think it does. So it takes a lot of digging to be able to understand the nuances of what Buddha taught was there's no self. And he did not mean nothing exists. And he did not mean there's no self at all. Why he was so cryptic about it, I don't know. So as a new student to a teacher, the teacher doesn't usually start right off teaching you the highest worldview, unless they see in you that you're ready for that. But for most of us, it's more appropriate to go step by step. So there are said to be 3 levels of Buddhist practice. Actually, sometimes they say 4, but it's a misnomer. Let me get my share screen again. Okay, it's down here that I'm talking about. These are Sanskrit words. We'll learn the Tibetans later. The term Hinayana, yana here, yana here, yana here, it means vehicle. Geshe-la says vehicular capacity. You know, like your little baby Toyota truck versus your 1-ton Ford versus the semi. That kind of vehicular capacity, how much load can be carried. Hina means lesser or smaller. I like to say beginner, but that isn't quite right. Smaller capacity. Mahayana means great capacity, right? Maha. And there seems like there ought to be a lot of other capacities in between those two. But Hinayana, this lesser capacity, has a lesser, and a medium lesser, called the listeners and the self-made Buddhas. I didn't write that down. I'll do it next time. This one over here, Vajrayana, means diamond vehicle. It's the term for the diamond way. It is not a 3rd level or a 3rd capacity. it comes underneath the Mahayana. There's a Mahayana Sutra way and a Mahayana Diamond way. So there's really just Mahayana, Hinayana, and 2 Hinayana levels, 2 Mahayana levels, right? Not important right now, except for the details. So let me come back. I'm speaking to that because the Hinayana level practitioner is a level where their motivation for practice is that they understand about suffering and they understand about past and future lives, and they understand enough about karma and its consequences that they are afraid that when they die from this life, they're going to land in a hell realm, hungry ghost, or animal realm. And they want to stop that possibility. Now, this is like a theoretical level of practitioner. It's not talking about the Theravadins as Hinayanists. It's not that at all. It's just if we were really, when we were really, really beginners on our spiritual levels, this was the first fear we recognized that led us to take refuge. Because here's a teaching that says, look, you can close the doors to those lesser rebirths. You can assure yourself a human or better rebirth. What do I have to do that? You have to protect life. You have to stop harming others. You do that well enough, you'll damage all those seeds that could have sent you to a hell realm birth. You know, do your purification, stop harming others. And so you might become a really, really, really careful avoider of life. And that's not Buddha's point, to become a really careful avoider of life so that you don't harm. The next level practice is, yes, I want to close those lower doors, but I understand about suffering and karma and emptiness enough to know that I could, in fact, stop all those mental afflictions completely forever. I can reach that state of nirvana beyond grief. A state of mind, not a place that you go. How do we do it? I avoid harming others, and I work hard to help others. And I learn that the steps in that wheel of life so that I'm aware of when I'm doing each one of them, and I can cut it. I can do something different. And I can create the situation where I stop that forced rebirth, aging, death, forced rebirth for myself and reach nirvana. And they say beings do it. And they say reaching nirvana is permanent, cessation of all mental afflictions. But it is not Buddhahood. It does not have the state of mind of omniscience. I'm not sure whether it has emanations or not in the spontaneous way that we say Buddhas emanate. And so although your mental afflictions are gone forever, somehow, something eventually triggers this desire to interact with other suffering beings such that your compassion grows, because it's through compassion that we clear out the obstacles to omniscience. So this being whose mind is nirvana somehow manages to get a human life and works on their compassion, growing their compassion. That's Choi.
Teacher, I still have one. I still not really 100% aware. Understand is that for Mahayana, we follow the path. First, we need to touch the diamond world or direct perception of emptiness. Then we enter to the stream enterer. When we reach a level 7, we are reaching the we are in the nirvana. What about the Hirayana? Do they also follow this until the nirvana?
They go through the 5 paths. This is getting beyond what this group should do, Choi. They go through the 5 paths, but what's happening on their 5 paths is different. For a
Mahayana.
For a self-made Buddha than for a Mahayana. Right? So you can't really compare like that. You have to talk about each one separately. And then them. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Sorry, got distracted.
You were that the nirvana guy or girl goes into human being to grow compassion.
Right. Okay. So theoretically, when we first meet our path, we're focused on closing those doors to lesser rebirth. And then the Lama's job is to encourage us further. And we go, oh, I can reach nirvana. And then because the Lama sees that, in fact, that reaching nirvana for oneself is a delay, they, look for opportunities to encourage us to recognize that if I can stop all my mental afflictions, it must be true that everybody could stop all their mental afflictions. And I want that for at least the people I love. And then as we learn the principles, it's like, well, it's not enough to want it for just the people I love. I want to want it for all beings without leaving a single one out, because that's what's going to make my omniscient state of mind. So Lama coaches us and guides us and, pushes us to recognize this capacity that we have to become a fully enlightened being, the one who helps all others become that as well. And if we have the seeds, we hear that. And it's like, oh, yes, I didn't know I wanted that. But now that I've heard it, nothing else will suit. Right? It's when Geshe Michael says, you're standing on the billion worlds, you see the face of every being and you love them and you know that you're the one who will save them. And, some people hear that and they go, no way, I don't want any part of it. And some of us hear it and go, oh, I knew it. Deep down, I knew it. But like, who's allowed to say that when you're a little kid? What do you want to be when you grow up? Be the savior of the world and stand on a billion planets and help everybody. I never heard anybody say that. But those seeds ripening to hear it and to respond to it is what takes us to standing at that door of the Bodhisattva room. But there are several rooms before we got there. Because to get there is a ripening of extraordinary goodness, past goodness. So somehow we made the goodness for the goodness of hearing the thing about bodhisattvas and being attracted to it. How did we make all that goodness? So the room before, the room we've just come through in order to get to the blue bodhisattva door, is a room that's filled with glass trinkets, big ones and small ones, that are sitting on glass shelves, that are in a room with glass walls, mirror. Let me start again. Glass trinkets on mirror shelves in a room with mirror walls, a mirror floor, and a mirror ceiling. Can you imagine how disorienting and confusing this room is? All the trinkets are fragile glass, and our task is to move from the entry of that room through this maze of glass things without breaking any of them to get to the door of the bodhisattva room. But it's all mirrors. This represents learning about karma and its consequences, learning the wheel of life, learning the karmic consequences of the 10 non-virtues, learning our vows and thinking about our vows in terms of the karmic consequences of their keeping them, and the karmic consequences of the behaviors we are avoiding by them. All of that is clues to what behavior is it that will plant the seeds to create the end of my personal suffering and the ability to bring every being to the end of their suffering too. So this room represents how careful our interaction with others can become, so that we don't harm anything or anyone in the most subtle way. And in fact, we become one who can smoothly move through this chaotic, crazy, confusing life called Sarahni's life, on my way to that bodhisattva room, on my way to the initiation room, to the vows, to the creation stage, to the 4 times, to the completion stage, to that courtyard. We don't get to jump each one. We go through. So this room, we have others before it, but this room, I'll give you the 3 verses that have to do with it, so that you can think about them until, what is this, Monday, Thursday. It says, grant me then ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of the Buddha's teachings. So those 3 verses will give you clues as to what those trinkets are in that room and what kind of challenges they represent in your life, right? Some of them could be those people that push your buttons. And you can design how you step delicately through those fragile beings without acting from your button being pushed. Because if you do, the whole room will shatter. It's verses 4, 5, and 6, if they're labeled like that in the reading. Okay. So you have 2 more rooms to explore. What's a trinket? A figurine. A figurine. Thanks for asking. Okay, that's enough. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class? We have planted some amazing seeds. And they will help us sooner or later go on to help that other in that deep and ultimate way. So be happy with yourself. Think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you. Grow your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you and help you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. That love, that compassion, that wisdom is there for you to guide you. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use 3 long exhales. Share this goodness with that one person. Share it with everyone you love. Share it with every being you've ever seen or heard of. See them all filled with happiness, filled with kindness. They don't know where it came from, and it doesn't matter. And may it be so. All righty. Right on time. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, translators. You work so hard.
Thank you so much.
A special dedication.
Thank you, teacher, so much. Thank
All
you
right.
for your
Thank you,
teaching.
teacher.
You're welcome. Play with these
Oh,
things, please.
Teaching your grammar. Keep
Thank you
writing.
very much. See you Thursday.
Thank you, teacher.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.